still participate in adaptive sports. I'm a graduate student in the SUNY Cortland Therapeutic Rec program. I have a mild case of cerebral palsy with spastic diplegia. And when I was 5, the doctors told me I wouldn't ever walk unaided. But today I not only walk unaided, I wakeboard standing with no adaptive equipment. Adaptive sports really helped me find my feet. Today we're going to be talking about benefits, facilitators, supporting theories, and I'm going to offer some tips for sustaining participation, mostly because I've been doing this for so long. I have some idea how to keep going, but also it's the theme of the conference. The benefits are supported by various literature across the domains, and the adaptive sports even offers a framework to navigate barriers and maybe work through some of your fears, as I experienced over my adaptive sports experience. There are also several facilitators for adaptive sports that we'll be going through, ranging from leisure education to, most importantly, you as a facilitator, how you can help your participants or yourself participate in sports or adaptive sports. We'll also touch on theories that I've ran into in my experience and things that I feel support adaptive sport experience and enrich adaptive sport experience, actually. One of the most important things that my parents did, my family did with me was really set the stage. My grandfather had a conversation with me when I was little, and he said, "You can do anything you want to do. You might not be able to do it the same way everybody else does it, but you can do anything that you want to do." And then I started in the therapeutic rec program, and I ran across the flourishing through leisure model, and it highlights the importance of high expectations and positive attitudes in supporting leisure and success in leisure. And it made me realize that my parents did that. They always had high expectations of me. They've always had high expectations of me. And that's provided a strong foundation for my life and my adaptive sports experience. And I didn't really realize how unique that was, or how outside the norm that was, until I went to a camp for kids with disabilities and met a bunch of kids with parents who had much lower expectations of them and not necessarily positive attitudes. And it made me realize sort of how lucky I was and how strong a foundation my parents had helped me build before even starting, any serious participation in school or adaptive sports or basically anything. This presentation is going to be sort of a whirlwind tour of my experience with adaptive sports, and we'll go between different modalities and talk about some theories that relate to those modalities, as well as the other modalities as we go along. My first experience with anything athletic was, a swimming program when I was little. It was called Water Babies. And honestly, it scared the heck out of me. I really didn't have any choice in going through the program. So there was no self-determination. And, in the beginning, it just really scared me. And then I had additional experiences with the water, and I slowly, with the use of, flotation aids, I learned how to swim and become more comfortable with the water over a series of years. And then progressed to, deep water aerobics, and then eventually started wakeboarding, much later. And it really, swimming really started a a lifelong love of water for me, but it started out in a place of very little self-determination and fear for me, but it also was a avenue for me to navigate my fears and learn how to do that, and also get assistance from the water in terms of buoyancy and but also at the same time resistance, and it was a way to sort of level the playing field, because my disability was not something that got in my way when I was in the water. I realized, I'm not sure I said what my disability was. I have a mild case of cerebral palsy with spastic diplegia. So swimming for me was, it started out as a semi-negative experience, and then became more positive after that. And part of that was because, when I started my swimming journey, there was no self-determination. I had no power over my selection of adaptive support or adaptive sport modalities. And self-determination really focuses on the whole idea of nothing about you without you, the fact that you get to make the decision about what adaptive sport modality you choose to use and or to participate in, and it really gives you ownership and helps you want to participate in the modality as you go along. So self-determination related to adaptive sports is really important. My next experience with adaptive sports came in the form of equine assisted therapy. My grandmother had a horse farm, so my family always had horses. So equine assisted therapy was a convenient intervention. The problem was, I'm allergic to horses, and I am also afraid of heights. So the whole idea of sitting on top of this huge living thing and and doing this really scared the heck out of me, and it really highlighted the fact that just because an intervention is convenient, it doesn't mean it's the right thing for a participant. And you really should consider somebody's fears when selecting interventions. And interventions are a great way to work through fears, but you really need to decide if that's a goal, or if there really is another intervention that would work better for your participant. The funny thing is that the next thing I experienced was basically very similar to equine assisted therapy, although there was no live animal or heights involved. So all-terrain vehicles ended up being a great alternative to equine assisted therapy. It provided me the same sort of stretch that being on top of a horse did, and at the same time it provided genuine opportunities for me to form friendships and to socialize with my friends at school without on a level playing field, because I didn't have to worry about how fast I walked or how far I could walk. I could just hang out with my friends and do something that we enjoyed, and really sort of work on those friendships that are so important. And truth be told, I still talk to my friends from high school about the fun that we had on the ATVs, and we're still close, and those friendships that I built enjoying driving ATVs really formed the foundation of my social life even now today. And I would gladly go do this again with my friends at my parents' house or or wherever. So this is a great avenue to facilitate friendships and relationships. But several modalities can do that. Different things are good for different people. My first experience with a real adaptive sports program was Alpine Skiing. A friend of mine told me about this adaptive sports program after I moved from Colorado to California, which I find totally hilarious, because then I went back to Colorado to enjoy a adaptive sports program. And at first I was completely terrified. I would only go for 3 days a year, and it was really frustrating. Like every time I went, it was like starting over, and I had to be fitted for adaptive equipment, and it just seemed like there was no progress. And then somebody told me about this monoski camp where you can go and ski for like a whole week, and the instructors were amazing, and you just got a lot of lessons and a lot of instructions in a short amount of time. And there are also opportunities for socialization, and you were all going through the program at the same time. Excuse me. And if you were afraid of something, so was somebody else, and you could talk about it. And it was just a really great way to learn, and it really worked for me. But it highlights the fact that different program formats are important. Some people want a lesson here and there, and they want to just space it out. Some people want a lesson once a week, and some people need to get away and be with a group of other people in something like a monoski camp to help make progress and help experience the benefits of adaptive skiing. So the variety of program format helps, and leisure education helps. I wish that I had known, I found out later that there's a local adaptive sports program, near where I grew up. And if I'd known that, I would have participated in that instead of, the equine assisted therapy that didn't really work for me. Also, theories influence your experience with adaptive sports. And in terms of alpine skiing, for me, the two theories that stood out were self-efficacy and flow. Self-efficacy is basically the idea that someone believes that they can successfully complete this task. And I'll tell you, when I first started skiing, I didn't really believe. And my instructors, they would talk to me and say, you can do this, you can get through this. And as I was more successful at skiing, I began doubting myself less, and really believing that I could accomplish these things. And skiing provided a real foundation for me believing in a lot of other aspects of my life. And it really ties back to my grandfather's conversation where he said, I can do anything. It just might not necessarily do it the same way that everybody else does. Flow is also probably one of my favorite theories as it relates to alpine skiing and really the rest of my experience with adaptive sports. A flow experience is an experience that's challenging, engaging, enjoyable, and leads to an effort that requires commitment in the moment. And to me, that really just describes adaptive sports, period. And this photo on this slide is from a day where I remember experiencing flow. We were skiing powder that day, and we just it was amazing. It was really like poetry in motion. And I'll tell you that not all of my days skiing powder are like that. This one was, we started in the morning very early and tried to get first tracks, and then it was the day was over before we even knew it. And we've been talking about that day for years. So flow really highlights the importance of matching skill level to a challenge, and in that way promoting success and facilitating future participation. It's a really sort of great way to increase somebody's self-efficacy and get them into the moment and enjoying this experience with adaptive sports. One other thing that really facilitates adaptive sports is adaptive equipment. And my first experience with purchasing my own adaptive equipment was related to alpine skiing. So that's why we're talking about this here. Adaptive sports lessons are never long enough. You always find that you're running out of time and not able to do the thing that you really enjoy doing. And adaptive equipment is kind of connected to that, because sometimes you spend what seems like half of your lesson just trying to get settled in your equipment or in the right equipment, and sometimes the equipment choice is limited because the program doesn't have a lot of equipment, and so you might not get the piece of equipment that you want, or the one that you're used to having. And I like to say that owning your own equipment, owning your own adaptive equipment is like buying your first car. It's like you're not borrowing anybody's car anymore. You can adjust the seat and you can hang whatever air freshener that you want to. It's really yours. And so you hop in your equipment and you strap yourself in and you're off and running, and you don't have to worry about having the right rental equipment or having any rental equipment at all. Some programs don't even have equipment that allows that would allow you to rent it or use it for free. So adaptive equipment really facilitates independence and participation. And on some level, it's also a literal version of buy-in. It's part of your commitment to the sport and your commitment to your own goals. My next experience with adaptive sports was related to sled hockey. I went to a monoski camp, and one of the instructors at the monoski camp was a Paralympic athlete in sled hockey, and he literally could turn on a dime and skate circles around me, and I was just so excited to watch him skate, because my uncle had been really into ice hockey and really excited about ice hockey, and I always wanted to skate with him, but I never thought I would be able to skate. So when I found out that I could skate and managed to get my own sled, it led to the opportunity for me to participate and help at a weekly adaptive sports program for kids, a special needs skate. And I spent time skating with kids with various developmental disabilities and mobility impairments, and that led to involvement in a junior sports camp where we one year we experienced something called wheelchair drifting. So there were some kids with electric wheelchairs, and they drove them out on the ice, and they basically drifted like you would in a car on an ice rink, and it was just great. They didn't have any desire in getting into a sled and trying to skate on a sled, but they were able to participate and really sort of become part of the group, because they just drove their electric wheelchairs on the ice and could do cool things that the kids in the sleds couldn't necessarily do. So for me, sled hockey was an avenue to a new sport, but also an avenue to a way to give back to the community and build build my own social capital and my social networks around an adaptive sport, which is definitely a way to facilitate future participation. So after sled hockey, I had this opportunity to go skydiving, and this may sound totally crazy, but for me, it was a way to navigate my fears. I was and I still am, afraid of heights, but I had this opportunity, and I'm like, what the heck? And the way the plane worked, the back of the plane opened up, and so a bunch of people could jump out at the same time. And that's actually what happened. There was probably 30 of us in the plane, and all the single skydivers, all the the experienced skydivers jumped out of the plane at the same time, and the plane bounced. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I don't want to do this anymore. It's like, never mind. I don't want to get out of the plane. And my instructor said, don't worry, we're going next, and you'll be fine. And basically, in the next couple of seconds, we were out of the plane, and he was right. As soon as my stomach caught up with me, I was fine, and it really helped me sort of slowly work through my fear of heights, and get more comfortable with that. My next experience was with kiteboarding, which sounds totally crazy. Like I have issues with balance and core strength and all that, but I was going to this chiropractor, and we were talking, and he was working on my back, and he said, you should really try kiteboarding, and he said, you have great upper body strength, and I think you would do really well kiteboarding. And it's hilarious, because kiteboarding has nothing to do with upper body strength. It's all about core and balance, and so the thing about this for me is the chiropractor had no perception of my upper limits. He didn't enforce any of these preconceived notions about somebody with a disability. He just said, you should try kiteboarding. And I thought, oh, that sounds like a great idea. So, so I did, and it was really a great experience. It helped me improve my core strength and my balance, and my ability to navigate crowds. Flying a kite on the beach on the beach or in the water, or trying to stand on sand, it's all much harder than trying to negotiate a crowd where the ground is super solid and really sort of easy to negotiate. It also helped me navigate smaller spaces. My balance was much better, and there were a lot of pluses to kiteboarding that I didn't really expect. And it just highlights the fact that adaptive sport participation can help you stretch your limits and help you grow as a human being in ways that you're totally not expecting to grow. This is kind of a funny story. We bought a Wii balance pad, and I really couldn't stand on it, because it was so small and my balance was just not great. And so a friend of mine built this piece of adaptive equipment. She took a pool ladder and wrapped it up so it could hang on to it, and there's a little holder for the controller, and it was just hilarious, and it really helped me snowboard on the on the Wii, and just really helped me experience the the we in a different way, and it just highlights the fact that adaptive equipment can definitely facilitate participation. And this was really my funny story about the Wii is it was my first time bowling. So bowling for me was always keeping score. I always went and my parents would have me keep score, and it was always boring. And then with the Wii I could actually bowl and participate with my friends. So it was a definitely a positive experience. The next modality for me was rock climbing. I was looking for a sport that I could do in the off season when I couldn't kiteboard or wakeboard, and I stumbled on rock climbing. And one of the things about rock climbing is that I realized I'd never learned something called motor planning, how to make my feet go where I want them to go, and rock climbing helped me do that. It helped me learn how to navigate better in small spaces and change my perception, the perception of my balance. Before I started climbing, I felt like my balance was, I felt like I was on roller skates for, 24/7. How you feel when you're wearing roller skates and somebody comes up behind you and touches on your shoulder. You always feel like you're gonna fall. So there was always some part of my my brain thinking about my balance and where it is and what would happen if I fell. But then I started kiteboarding and rock climbing, and it really changed my perception of my balance. My balance became more solid, and now when I look at the world, it's about handholds and footholds if I need help, and having a perception of how solid my balance is, and having this sort of reflex to get me to if there's a problem with my balance, or if somebody comes up behind me, it's more like a reflex to just stand still and be solid. And I feel much less like I'm on roller skates all the time. And adaptive sports really help me get there, help me be more solid in my balance. And one of the things that I learned from my rock climbing coach, or one of the things that he highlighted, was that I should stop focusing on the things that I can't do and focus on the things that I can do. And it really made me think of the strengths approach and the difference between the strengths approach and the deficits approach, and how I've spent most of my life dealing with medical professionals and looking at myself as a collection of problems and things that need to be fixed, and not really focusing on strengths and the potential that's there, and focusing on myself as a whole person. And so rock climbing helped me shift from looking at myself as someone to fix to someone who's strong and a whole person, and looking for solutions for things, places where I wanted to get stronger, and the potential of learning new things, or navigating my fears, or any of those things. And one of the principles about the strengths approach that I want to focus on is the idea that only a participant knows their upper limits. The thing is, sometimes even a participant doesn't know their upper limits, and we need to work with our participants to collaborate and figure out possibly where those perceived upper limits are, and perhaps ways to push those upper limits in ways that are safe and for participant to to expand them and to try new things. And I would say that one of my experiences with stretching those limits is related to this program in Sydney called Bridge Climb. And the photo on the left is a picture of the bridge, and in the program you climb up one of the upper frames of the bridge, and you get to the flags that are in the photo on the left, and then you come back down. And I really wanted to participate in this program, but when I got there, the people who run the program didn't think I could do the walk, and I had to convince them that I could do the walk and get to the top, and then safely come back down. And they told me that I could go, but I had to do this. I had to take an elevator through one part of the bridge, a small part of the bridge, a ladder part, where they were worried that I wasn't going to be able to navigate it. And the funny part there are a couple of funny parts about the story, but the first funny part about the story is I climbed up to the top of the bridge and then came back down. And the first part, I took the elevator up the ladder part, and the second part, the elevator was broke. So I actually had to walk. I had to do the ladder part to get down to the where we started. And by the time I got to the end, the guide said to me, "Do you work out? Because you're not even winded. You're less winded than some of these people that are on the in the program who don't have a disability." And I just laughed and I said to him, yeah, I work out. And so this is just really an example of sometimes you have to advocate for yourself, and inclusion really helps facilitate adaptive sports participation. And sometimes you have to work to help people push their limits of your perceived upper limits. Cycling was an example of how not all adaptive sports modalities work for everybody. For me, cycling didn't really work. I tried lots of different adaptive cycles. I purchased a three-wheel bike, and I stopped riding because it was too difficult to get my feet into the pedals. It took me about 45 minutes to get my feet in the pedals, and by the time that I was done getting my feet into the pedals, I wasn't really interested in biking anymore. It was almost like the experience was too challenging for me, and maybe with the right support and the right adaptive equipment, I would be more interested in participating in cycling in the future. But not every adaptive sport works for everyone, and there are a lot of different modalities. Well, I read about one program that was using shuffleboard as an adaptive sport modality, which I think is great. I think it's any sport can be adapted to be an adaptive sport. From cycling, I tried water skiing, and I really wanted to participate in water skiing because when I was little, my dad used to water ski with me on his shoulders, and I was interested in water skiing. But the program is basically limited. It's given 3 times a summer, and there was really no progression forward for me. There was no perceived goal at the end. So in the end, I stopped participating in water skiing and moved on to to cable wakeboarding, But this highlights the fact that, program availability and basically attainable goals can facilitate participation. My next sport ended up being cable wakeboarding. My kiteboarding coach got me to the point where I could actually, I could fly the kite, I could drag myself behind the kite, but we were at the point where I was about ready to get to the point where I could, attempt to stand up on a board, and we realized that I had no board skills. I had never stood up. First of all, kiteboarding was the first adaptive sport where I actually attempted to stand up. There was no adaptive equipment where, I was sitting in something, which had been my previous experience. And then, my wakeboard or my kiteboard coach said, I need to take you to the cable. And so the wakeboard cable is basically a cable that pulls you around in a big rectangle, and it pulls you around like a boat would. And so it gave me the opportunity to sort of work on my board skills. The photo on the left is a photo of me in 2013. You can see that my stance isn't great, and I really wasn't comfortable on the board. That was actually the first day that my coach took me to the wakeboarding cable. And then the photo on the right was taken in 2018, where my stance is much better, and I'm really still wakeboarding today. And it's just another example of how adaptive sports can really foster growth and help you stretch perceived limits. And it also feeds into the whole broaden and build theory. It's crazy. So I participate in seasonal sports, and I've often felt when I come back to the beginning of the new season, I feel like I'm better at what I did, better than I was the previous season. And that always astounded me. It always felt like it was some sort of magic. And then I read about the broaden and build theory, where positive emotions can help you broaden and build your experience even after you've been through the intervention or the experience. It happens, it can happen later. And I realized that was what was going on for me for in terms of cable wakeboarding. I would have the experience, or even any of the other seasonal sports that I've been involved with. The positive memories and emotions that I have related to that experience really help me, broaden and build my resources and my own outlook on myself over time, and help me become a better athlete. This chart is a bit of an eye chart, but it basically shows across the or down the left side, it's all the modalities that I have experience in, and across the top is the benefits that I've seen and that are correlated in the literature, and it really shows how each of these experiences can build on each other, and some of them work better than others, and some will work for different people, better than others will. And some of the ones that have, not too many, entries in the table are things that I don't continue participating in. I've tried them a few times, but they didn't work for me, or they're just, specific experiences. But in the end, they all build on each other, and they help with your self-efficacy and your belief that you're able to do things, and they help build you up. And they've helped me build myself up as a person. And one of the ways that you can, really help promote this and promote those benefits is to focus on the facilitators, and be a be a facilitator for adaptive equipment, or not adaptive equipment, adaptive sports. Like we said, or like I said, the facilitators range from leisure education all the way to you, and everything can help, help people participate more in adaptive sports and build themselves up as human beings. And we touched on each one of these theories and how they built on each other. And the last thing I want to talk about is, one of the last things I want to talk about is how to go from a lesson to a lifetime. How do you help a participant become someone who comes and enjoys your program for one day to someone who is really interested in a sport for a lifetime? Encourage people to be willing to try new things, have flexible, short-term, long-term goals. If you can see a progression and you know that you're making progress, it helps you keep participating. Find something that you love. All of these things that I've participated in were really in an effort to find something that I love to do, and eventually I found, cable wakeboarding, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy it so much that we actually sold our house and moved so I could be closer to a cable wakeboard. So maybe I'm a little crazy, but I have found something that I love and something I really enjoy doing. But I didn't do this on my own. So, mentors and coaches help. There will be rough spots, and you'll need support. People will need support, and mentors and mentors and coaches can help with that. And share your passion with your family or your friends, and get other people involved, and that'll help you want to go back and do things, because you'll be social and be able to enjoy other people while having a reason to be together. It's hard in these times, but even virtually, a virtual adaptive sports program can help socially, and be determined, because like I said, there will be rough spots that you have to get through. And there's a quote or something I read about the fact that leisure isn't always easy, but some of the fun stuff is the hard stuff. Once you've worked through the hard part, it becomes easier and may become something that you really love to do. And give yourself permission to learn and grow, because sometimes it's really frustrating when you don't get it, and you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, and then something clicks, and you sort of give yourself permission to learn and grow. But I think the biggest thing is just try to have fun. Find something that's fun for you, and have fun participating in the adaptive sports. The last thing I want to share is, before we get to questions, is I've heard all of these quotes from different people that I've participated with, and it just highlights the fact to me that your words matter and your support matters. I want to highlight one of these because I was having a really rough day, and I was trying to learn how to start on the cable wakeboard, and I was sitting down on the start bench, and my friend sat down next to me, and she happens to be a CTRS and happens to also be the reason I'm in the program. But she sat down next to me and she said, "Tell me about your process." And before she said that, just wanted her to fix things. I wanted her to tell me what I was doing wrong. I wanted her to strap my feet into the board. I wanted her to like, magically make me be able to start on the cable. And then she sat down and she said, "Tell me about your process." And all of a sudden, I owned this. It's mine, and it can be whatever I want it to be, and I can figure out a way to make it work for me. And that moment in time really changed my experience with cable wakeboarding. It really made me understand that this was mine. This experience was mine, and it was up to me, and whatever I put into it was whatever I got out of it. And it really, it really brought it home for me, and it really made me understand that that this was mine, and I could adapt when I needed to. I could change my stance. I could do whatever I needed to make this work because it was mine. And in those those 5 words, she really gave that to me and changed my experience with cable wakeboarding. And I'm sure she changed that day, but she also changed my participation. She facilitated my future participation in cable wakeboarding. So I've tried to save time for questions. I know it's a little hard in this venue, but I miss sitting in a room and talking to all of you at the recreation conference. But if anybody has questions, I'm open for them now. Okay. Well, if you have questions later, or you want to talk about something that really caught your interest in the presentation, or something that I didn't talk about, my email's there. Feel free to reach out and let me know.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
How did you first get introduced to therapeutic recreation services?
So that's very funny. So I had been experiencing the benefits of therapeutic recreation without realizing that was what I was doing. So my first introduction to therapeutic recreation as a career actually happened at a cable wakeboard park. So I was talking to a volunteer who was volunteering at the program, and I actually said to her, "Why are you here?" And she said, "Well, I'm interning. I'm in the middle of the therapeutic recreation program, and I'm interning, and then once I intern, I'll be a therapeutic recreation specialist." And I said, "What's that?" And she explained to me what it was, and I said, "Is that a thing? Like, could I actually do that as a career?" And she said, "Yeah." And that was probably 6 or 7 or maybe 8 years ago. And it's taken me that long to sort of figure out that I want to, leave my current career and become a CTRS and get involved with therapeutic recreation as a career, as opposed to a hobby, I guess I would say. Did that answer your question?
That was really cool. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else?
Hey, Tim, not really a question, but I teach
Okay.
here in the RPLS department and focus on kind of the outdoor activities and adventure education. And I've been in the process the last few years of developing either like a certificate program, minor, major, something, still kind of shaping it specific to adaptive outdoor activities. And I'd love to connect with you at a later time and kind of talk about that and kind of pick your brain a little bit.
That would be amazing. I'd love that.
Okay, I've got your email written down. I'll reach out here.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have actually a question kind of on like the legal aspect of the adaptive equipment. Did you have to, like when you're doing these activities and you're advocating for yourself and everything, like do you have to sign different like extra paperwork or something like that because this equipment is different than what everybody else is using, or?
No, it's the same waiver. So you sign a waiver that says basically if you get hurt, you're not going to sue anybody, and it's not specific to the equipment. You know, it's like you're participating in this activity at your own risk, and you know, basically, you know, everybody signs that waiver, whether you're an adaptive sport athlete or an athlete or somebody who's who's skiing for the first time. We all sign that waiver so we don't sue the ski resort or the adaptive sports program or whatever. It's not specific to the adaptive equipment.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? I'm serious about reaching out though. So if you don't feel comfortable asking a question or you have a question later after you've had a chance to let all this information sink in, because you know it's a lot of information, or if there's something I didn't cover that you really want to talk about, I'm very interested in talking to you. And I don't say that lightly. Okay, Max, are we good?
Yep. So since those are all the questions, I just wanted to thank you one last time. That was a very great presentation, and thank you for everyone who came. I hope you all learned some really good stuff from this. Just one last minute thing. If you wanted to put your company, your name, anything, contacts in the chat, just go ahead and do that real quick if you want. Other than that, that concludes our session, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I don't know how to close this.
Are you trying to stop sharing the screen?
I am, yes, except I'm not being very successful at it.
Okay. This whole technology is difficult. Yep, you got it. Now you're muted, Tim.